tonight's talk is on everything is all right. Contentment. The Buddha has a lot to say about contentment. And before we get there, I wanted to begin tonight talking about a TED Talk that I saw a long time ago. It's from a book, and it came out just over 20 years ago by a psychologist named Barry Schwartz. And the title of the book is The Paradox of Choice. And this person is not a meditator, not a practitioner, but somebody that is paying a lot of attention to what's going on inside of himself. And the book was born from him going to the Gap to buy a pair of jeans. And he goes into the Gap, this is probably in the early 2000s, and says to the salesperson he wants to buy a pair of jeans. And of course he's asked, what kind? And the fellow says, jeans, like the kind I'm wearing, like a pair of jeans. And then of course, this litany of, well, do you want low rise, high rise, button up, zip up, acid wash, flare, straight leg, boot cut, and Barry Schwartz, who this was happening to, said initially he was, frustrated. He just wanted to buy a pair of jeans. And he said as this interaction went on, what happened inside of himself was he started to have this feeling and this belief that, oh, I could actually get the perfect pair of jeans. Like as all of these choices were being given to him, he said he saw his expectations just going up, up, up. And then as that was happening, he started to experience quite a bit of pressure. Like, I need to get it right. And this is basically where this book comes from, this paradox of choice, that we seem to think that the more options that I have, the more choice that I have, the better it will be, because I'll get exactly what I want. And the point of this book is actually, there is this paradox of choice. When there's so many choices, there's a lot of pressure, and there's this decision fatigue, and our expectations are escalating. This is what the Buddha has to say, that when the secret, the answer in life is not getting what we want. And this is the strategy that we've all been living from, that we were born into, we brought in with us. If you're with young children, if you watch them, the force of wanting is so strong, and it's completely unabashed, right? Like there's no filter, there's no holding back. I want the red one, and the only reason they want the red one is because their sister has the red one. Like there's no true inherent meaning to these wants. There are just so many of them. And we live our lives from this unexamined assumption that it would be better if we got more of our wants, if they were delivered, like Amazon, like as soon as it's gonna be, in the next hour, you can get what you ordered. It's really on steroids in our culture, because this is how capitalism works, feeding on our wants. It's interesting, there's this powerful series of videos called The Century of the Self. There's 4 videos, and in it they sort of uncover the beginnings of advertising. This is all basically post-World War II. And it was completely calculated that we needed to get people to think that these were needs, not wants, so that they would buy. It's all very, very deliberate. Wanting, wanting, wanting. Sheryl Crow has this beautiful song, Soak Up the Sun, with so much wisdom in it. It's not getting what you want. It's wanting what you've got. This is contentment. And this is what the Buddha has. You know, I'm talking about the first two noble truths of the Four Noble Truths of the Buddha. That life inherently has stress, suffering, dissatisfaction. And the second noble truth, that the root of this dissatisfaction is our wanting. It is our misguided desires. The third noble truth, that there's an end to this whole mess. He calls it this whole mass of suffering. There is an end. There is a resolution. There is a cessation. Things can stop. And the fourth noble truth, that there's this path of practice that leads to that. And contentment is and can be our very, very, very best friend in our meditation practice and in our lives. And there are so many suttas where the Buddha talks about the blessing, the incredible blessing of getting to hear talk about contentment, getting to hear it easily. This involves being around others that share this value. This is going against the stream. I don't know if you've heard this expression. The Buddha talks about our embarking on a spiritual practice inevitably puts us going against the stream. And he was not, he was talking in Iron Age India, long before there was a smartphone. It was still going against the stream, because the stream is our insatiable wanting. And that's not just a product of the 20th century. It's not a product of technology. It's a product of the human mind. This is a human problem from all of history. Wanting, wanting, wanting. And then this other force that's so strong in the human mind, which is not wanting, aversion, which is actually just wanting something different, wanting something else. It's still wanting, 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 wanting. It leaves you wanting. Yeah. So the message that the Buddha teaches is going completely against the stream. It's not looking at the objects of our wanting and how to construct a life where things are, all the ducks are in a row and everything is lining up. No, this will never work. It's an endless project. When I was a kid, my best friend lived across the street, and my father was not a handy person, but his father was. Dale, my good friend, his father was an electrician. My dad was a white collar worker and could not hammer in a nail. And I was initially quite jealous, because Dale's family was always making their house better and renovating it, and it would just seem slick and up to date. But I remember it striking me after 10, 12 years, they're back renovating. They'd done the whole house, and they're back in the room that they'd started when I was like 3 or 4, when I was thinking, this is so cool. Even then, I was like 12. I was thinking, this is nuts. I'm just so wise. No, I wasn't. I'm just saying, there's no end. There's just no end. And, but the Buddha does have an end, and it's a going against the stream, and it's looking at the actual wanting and examining that and beginning to deconstruct it and beginning to work with it bit by bit by bit and chip away at it. And it's all this wanting and the wanting something else, this aversion is all oozing with. It's baked in. It's growing out of delusion. It's the whole thing is misguided, and the whole thing doesn't work. And all of us in this room know that to some degree or another, or we wouldn't be sitting here. So this going against the stream, and the going against the stream is this contentment. This is not a message that you're going to get on, is Crave a radio station? I think there is a radio station named Crave. I know that there's Cupcakes, yeah. In Vancouver, I think there's a radio station named Crave. You're not gonna hear it. But you will hear it from the Buddha, and you will hear it from your other spiritual practitioner friends. And we need to hear it. We need, we are going against the stream. We're going counter culture, counter current, and it's hard work. It's harder. We're not just floating downstream. We've all made a choice to one degree or another to go against the stream. And the wonderful news is we can practice contentment all the time. And we will immediately benefit and feel the benefit and feel the release from this wanting. It gets described as grasping, and then contentment is just being okay. This message of contentment. Everything's all right. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Is it the way I necessarily want it? No. But it's all right. It's good enough. Two of my favorite words, good enough. Good enough. And we can use this expression good enough in so many ways. If we know that we're like slightly obsessive, slightly perfectionistic, we can start practicing good enough. And one way you can do that is you just set a time. I will do this paperwork, I will do this cleaning, I will do this these emails for this amount of time, and then good enough. And this can help you with the tendency like, oh, I could just, make it ever so slightly better. Good enough, 80%. We need to start loving 80%. 80%. Good enough. These are all, 80% is not an expression in the suttas, but these ones are, fewness of wishes. We start, the opposite of a bucketless list, like reducing the wishes. Fewness of wishes. This is very admirable. Easily satisfied. These are straight from the Buddha's mouth. And for us, just okay. So it's okay. It's good enough. Ayya Ahimsa, absolutely very powerful German, fully ordained nun, the first Westerner, white, European woman to become fully ordained in the revival of full ordination for women. And she was ordained in 1989 in LA. And she talks about there's no end to more. But there is an end to less. And that's the direction we're going. Very against the stream. And Ajahn Brahm, we have all of these sayings of Ajahn Brahm. We have this little packet, it was given to us as a gift. And my favorite one is, if you want to be happy, lower your expectations. It's like, this is, it's taking everything and turning it upside down. It's really going against the stream. We've been taught, if you want to get happy, you want to get all these things, all these goals and all these self-improve, whatever it is. No, if you want to be happy, just, forget about that. And, you're good enough right now, just the way your house, everything, the dishes, all of it, it's all good enough. Yeah, just let them pile up and then get some guy to come and do them. Good enough. Good enough. Yeah. This, we really, let's be honest. I think we all still believe in our hearts that, myself included, if this little thing was tweaked ever so slightly, it would be better. And we sometimes we hang our entire lives on that. I remember as a young person, you're in school, and you even say these things to yourself. As soon as this essay's finished, I'll be happy, like I'll be relieved, And then, as soon as I graduate, because high school was just so difficult for me. I was a classical musician. I was such a nerd. And, as soon as I get out of high school and then I get to music school and I'm with other classical musicians that are like me, then I'll be happy. And then, then as soon as I meet that person and, fall in love, I'll be happy. And then, when he asks me to marry him, then I'll be, and then when we get married, and then when we have the kids, and then you got the kids, and then it's like, well, when they get school age, and I was like, well, when they move out, and then they move back in, and then when I retire, well, yeah, it's like the end of your life, then I'll be happy. Like, it's alarming. We can laugh, and we need to laugh, but it is alarming. And you can scale that back. We still think that way. As soon as I get all this stuff done, then I can relax. Why don't you relax right now? And be mindful and bring in contentment as you're doing this stuff. Don't split. Don't split up your life. I remember it was honestly the first, you have these insights, these little magic moments, whatever, when you begin to meditate. And I can remember early days. So meditation was still very tough, and I was at Birken. It was one of my first times visiting Birken Forest Monastery in British Columbia. And the beautiful sala, dead silent, full hour of meditation. And I'm not wanting to wiggle more than I already have. And I remember thinking, as soon as the bell rings, I'll be happy. And then it hitting me, that's actually not gonna happen. The bell will ring and I'll be exactly the same person. Like, it was so strong that, because I think that had been such a habit energy in my life. As soon as this next thing happens, next, we can even do that in our meditation, as soon as this next step in meditation happens, then I'll be happy. I still get hooked with that one. It's a very, very strong hook. And so the more we can just admit that's what's happening, and it's a killjoy, truly. And it doesn't have to be that way. so much of this, we've not sat back and looked long and hard at some of this habit energy. It's just so pervasive. And we talk like this, like, oh yeah, you know, I mean, I could just go on and on and on. The examples never stop, I can't wait for these guests to come. I can't wait for these guests to leave. I can't, this is, bless our hearts, really. It's tough. Yeah. So, contentment, making things more simple, making things more easy, making things more enjoyable. We can practice this throughout the day. Notice, when you're doing the dishes. Notice when you're answering those emails. Like, oh, no, come into the body. Where are my feet? Where's my breath? And I have a friend, her meditation teacher at one point gave her the instruction throughout the day, just pop this question into your mind. Is there any way I could be more relaxed? Like, whatever it is you're doing, is there any way I could just be more relaxed as I'm doing this? This is the flavor of contentment. Making things more easy, more enjoyable. Do people here know Ajahn Brahm or know of Ajahn Brahm? Hands up. Okay, Ajahn Brahm. I like the composer, Brahm. I suggest, if you don't know of him, that you just look him up on YouTube. He's a living, breathing example of contentment. And he's easy on himself, and he attracts so many monks and trains so many monks because he's learned the art of contentment and of good enough and seeing the good and bringing out the good and nurturing the good and countering the critical, fault-finding mind. Just enjoying, relaxing, good enough, contentment. I want to read a sutta, and it's from the connected discourses of the Buddha, the Samyutta Nikaya. It's the very beginning of the discourses, in the very first book. It's Sutta number 10 in book 1. And the whole first book are these encounters that the Buddha has with devas. And devas are beings that are in realms that are more beautiful, more glorious than the human realm. But they're still subject to a craving and aversion and delusion. And they still want the teachings from the Buddha. So this deva comes to the Buddha because he's pretty confused, because he's seen some monks that are living in the forest, pretty austere, but they seem really happy. And this deva who, think of, like Lives of the Rich and Famous. The devas have it better, more sensual pleasures and more beautiful art, beautiful creativity, everything good about the human realm they have without all the some of the other stuff. I don't think that there are any slums in the Deva realms. So this Deva comes to the Buddha and asks him, those who dwell deep in the forest, peaceful, leading the holy life, eating but a single meal a day, why is their complexion so serene? Like, I don't get it. And the Buddha answers, contentment, okay? The Buddha answers, they do not sorrow over the past, nor do they long for the future. they maintain themselves with what is present. Hence, their complexion is so serene. Through longing for the future, through sorrowing over the past, fools dry up and wither away like a green reed mowed down. So this beautiful secret of contentment is that then we begin to be in the present moment, because we're not thinking the next thing will be slightly better, or the next new thing, and we're not gripped by the past. We're okay. It's good enough. And when the mind is content, it stops moving. And so when we get content with our breath, just the way it is in our meditation, the mind won't wander as much. So if your mind is wandering off the breath, off the meditation object, you want to try and bring up more contentment, like just enjoying the breath, just the way it is, good enough. Doesn't need to be any different. And if you start really feeling that, like really believing that, and it's a beautiful place to practice it in our meditation with our breath, and then you can carry that into your life. And then there'll be this presence, and the presence is what's very nourishing. It doesn't matter the content so much. It's the presence that brings the nourishment. And so what's happened for many of us in our lives is that we've had these experiences of some kind of pleasant sense contact, and it's been easier to be present during that. And so we've conflated. We think that this pleasant sense contact is what will bring us happiness, when actually it's the presence that we experienced. And the Buddha is helping us understand this. Forget about the pleasant sense contact and learn the skill of being present. This became so clear to me. My son is pretty avid, maybe not by Canmore standards, but by my standards, pretty avid rock climber. And he climbed up El Capitan in Yosemite. And this is about, I think it was 5 or 6 days. And so they've got this ledge thing that they sleep on, and then they climb again the next day. And he's describing it to me. And I mean, the draw, one of the big draws of rock climbing is what? You're so present, right? Because the stakes are high. Like, I don't want to fall. And so this is an example. I mean, people love rock climbing. Why? Because they're present. Because it brings them into the present. So yeah, he's describing their day. These days were like, 14, 16-hour days. And he's standing on these things that are like digging into his feet. But he's so alive because he's present. So that's an example where it wasn't the pleasant sense contact that was bringing him into the present. It was the danger bringing him into the present. But the Buddha says we don't need to put our lives on the line, and we don't need to stay addicted to pleasant sense contact. We can just learn to be more present by learning more about contentment. And all the times that we're practicing contentment, we are going against the stream of our culture, and we are cutting away at our craving. We're cutting away at our wanting and our not wanting, which is cutting away at our delusion. And you start to grow in your wisdom, you start to grow in your confidence, and you start to grow in your contentment. Like, you're happier, and you're easily satisfied. I'm a nun. This is like a big instruction, right? I'm supposed to be easily satisfied. Whatever you give me to eat, Phil, that's great, good enough, fine. Yeah, and it's such an amazing practice. And it's a ticket to freedom. Because we were just listening to an Ajahn Brahm Sutta contemplation before we came here from the monastery, and this powerful expression. He was talking about the difference between freedom of desire, which is what we've all been taught, that if I this freedom of desire, freedom of lots of choice, freedom of independence, and freedom of desire. There's a whole nother world, which is freedom from desire. And when our desires go down, actually, the opposite of what Barry Schwartz was experiencing in the gap, when our desires go down, we experience freedom, because we're free from that. And the Buddha says to do that, says for us to reflect on all the ways that we've already experienced freedom in our practice. You think of something that at one time would have been very difficult or very stressful or very upsetting, and realize, I could see through that. I didn't react the way that I used to react. This is the beginning of freedom from desire. We've all experienced it to one extent or another. Freedom from desire, a true freedom. Many of us in the room probably have had addictions at different times. I've had several in my life, and I'm free from all of those. I used to know where every liquor store was, and now I never even think of a liquor store. I never even registered. Freedom from desire. It's just such a beautiful teaching that is accessible to each and every one of us. And it's interesting, Sanghamita, Mary talked about this gradual training throughout the suttas last month. And contentment is a whole step in this gradual training. And so we can work on, we can be cultivating contentment. That's the other thing that's incredible in the Buddha's teachings. He talks about cultivating contentment. It's not like just an accident. It's not a byproduct. It's causal. We can cultivate it. We can, sometimes we think happiness is just, it's just like I'm this happy or that happy. Like it's just the way it is in my life. No, contentment we can actively, consciously, deliberately practice and cultivate. So, you can work in so many different ways. If you need your coffee this certain degree of hotness to enjoy, just loosen up a little bit and try and drink those last little bits of the coffee without microwaving it again. Just try it, and realize I'm going in the right direction. If we keep dialing in our lives exactly the way we want, we're just going to get more of the same, more and more and more desire. We really want to go against the stream. I wasn't a practitioner, but I remember seeing this when I was like 20 years old. I was living alone for the first time, and I got to where I drank this certain drink out of this certain mug and this other drink and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm only 20, and there's something's wrong. Like I'm getting so picky, So I moved in with some people. This get it? So it's not always my way all the time, because this actually isn't a path to happiness. It's not. People tell us it is, but it's not. And it's very interesting. People come to the monastery all the time. They live these independent lives, and they've got money and autonomy, and they are lonely and dry. Yeah, it's not a good direction for us to be going as individuals. Yeah. So I want to end, and oh, I talked longer than I expected. Sorry. I'll just say a couple of words, as Phil asked me to, about where I live. For anyone that doesn't know, I live in Canmore at the Canmore Theravada Buddhist Community Monastery. And we left that name because we have a good logo and we don't want to work very hard and we didn't want to change the website. And so it's the Canmore Theravada Buddhist Community Monastery. Yeah, and it's in Canmore, and Sangamita, who was here last month, is a retired psychiatrist, and her beautiful lifelong partner passed away 14 years ago. She, at the time, was 62 and shortly retired, and then did a cross-country trip with Andre's ashes and went to visit all the Theravada monasteries across Canada, and came to the Bhikkhuni monastery that's in Ontario and met Ayya Ahimsa and learned firsthand from Ayya Ahimsa that the support for nuns always, I mean, I know this is going to be a big shock to everyone, they won't believe it, but all through history, nuns have not been supported or respected nearly as much as the monks. And I know, shock. I'll just leave everyone a moment to, whoa, I can't believe it's like that. It's not like that in any other part of our society. But it is that way for monks and nuns, and always has been. And it welled up in her heart hearing about that she wanted to create a place and support nuns. And that's what she's done. And she's signed over her home, given it up, and the board of the Canmore Theravada Buddhist Community Monastery own the house and take care of the house, and the monastics get to live there. And Virginia, if it's okay, Virginia is going to embark on trying out the nun's life in August 9th. She will have her ceremony to start it off. And then we have Sangamita lives there, and another lay steward. And we have many programs, and some of them are online, and we have moon days every couple weeks. And you can go on the website and sign up for the newsletter, and we really invite anyone to come on the moon days. You can meditate as much or as little as you want. I offer one-on-one interviews if people want to talk about something in their life or their meditation practice. Yeah, and you can also sign up to bring a meal to feed the monastics. Several in the room have done that, and feel free. I will open it now up for questions, so you can ask anything about the talk, or if you wish to ask something about the nun's life or the monastery. Yeah. Great. So anyone that has any questions or comments, yes.
I don't know if this is a personal question, but I was just wondering, what was the turning point in your life where you decided to go towards your own life?
So the question is, what was the turning point in your life to go to the nun's life?
Yeah. Like what drove you to this life? This is what
you know, there's never, like with Kama, there isn't a one-to-one. Sometimes there is like this one moment that's really significant. But I can say, I think meeting Ajahn Sona had a profound effect on me, and seeing, at that point, he had been a monk for over 20 years, and seeing, and he was offering these one-on-one interviews. I don't know if people remember back in the day at Birkin, you could go and then you could just sign up for an interview with Ajahn Sona. And all free of charge. And the wisdom that he had to offer. So it had this incredible impression on me of like, oh, this is because he's trained his own mind, that he can help so many people and he has so much wisdom to offer. So that was very, very significant for me, meeting him, very inspired. Yeah. Thank you for the question. It's a beautiful life. It's a very, very beautiful life.
I have a question about your talk.
Yeah, great.
I feel like we need more self-compassion. Like, it's the critics in our brain that telling us that you have to match other people's expectation and what the outside world or your peers or your parents want you to be. And I think the more we can figure out what the critic is saying is wrong and give ourselves more compassion, then the contentment can maybe come as well. I don't know what's the relationship between them.
They are very related.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so I'll try and summarize that. So, yeah, so what is the relationship sort of between self-compassion and kind of what others expect of us?
Yeah, the questioners brought up a very significant point. Like, what's the relationship between the inner critic and self-compassion and contentment? And I think that you already know the answer as you said it, which is when we start to understand that the inner critic is wrong. And this is a huge thing. There's a very, very wonderful intervention called Internal Family Systems, IFS. And there's a fabulous book by the founder, the creator of Internal Family Systems, Richard Schwartz. And the book is No Bad Parts. You know this book?
On my to-read list.
Oh, I really suggest you bump it up. No, because this inner critic is so tricky. And I think that in the approach in internal family systems is one that works. And it's where you, instead of, trashing the inner critic or trying to fight with it, you actually come into a very not adversarial relationship. You become friends with the inner critic, and you even thank the inner critic. The inner critic did serve a purpose. It did. It's a part of you, and it's a part of you that loves you and thinks it's serving you and thinks it's helping you and protecting you. You come to understand it better, and you can get free from it. Yeah. And contentment will be part of that process all along the way. I don't know how to express that better.
Just a quick question, you were talking about contentment. How do the hindrances work with that? Because it kind of sounds a lot like our greed And someone said that anger is one of the hindrances, but that you can soften that down, but that greed is the hardest to get rid of. So I think this desire that Buddha talks of and you're talking about, how do the hindrances fit with that? Because we do have those as real, as well as the joys and positive side. So how do the hindrances fit in with contentment?
Yeah, so the question is how do hindrances fit in with contentment? And anger is probably easier to deal with than greed.
This is what I
Your
think.
experience, yeah. That's what we've heard.
Yeah, Ajahn Sona teaches that, something that he teaches. Okay, there's 5 hindrances, and the first 2 are the ones I've been talking quite a bit about. And the way that contentment fits in with them is that contentment is the answer. Contentment is the antidote. So the first 2 hindrances are craving, desire, wanting, and the second is aversion, not wanting something else. And contentment is the antidote to both of those. And then dullness and drowsiness and restlessness, contentment is also an antidote to restlessness. So when we are experiencing desire, like, and let's make it simple, like, we're really, really tired. I don't want to talk about food. Everyone always is an example about food. We have other desires, So say I come home and it's been a bit of a tough day and there was traffic and I'm very, very tired. And so I have a lot of desire to just check out. I just want to veg. Whatever that looks like for you. Is that you just flop on the couch? Is that you get on the phone with a friend? Is that you flip onto YouTube? You scroll social media? Whatever that is. Or you open a beer, like whatever. So there's this desire of I just want to break. So the way that contentment can work for you in that moment and be your friend is that you probably it isn't contentment actually. The way I would deal with that desire is get curious. Like, this is a really strong pull right now. I just want to check out. And so you want to be a good friend to yourself and sit with that. Sit with it and just decide, okay, I'm not going to do any of those things that I'm just dying to do right now. I'm going to just sit here for 5 minutes and be with this for me, when I've got that, I want to check out. There's like restlessness and fatigue and desire, like all, but all of those things that we go to are they're false. It's like contentment. If we begin to understand it and we begin to value it more and more, it's really like acquiring a taste for healthy food. And all of these things that we do to check out are all junk food. They've got this immediate quick hit, but they come at a cost. And the Buddha gives an example of a simile of desire is like being in debt. And when we follow some of these desires they're completely understandable. We live in quite a stressful world. and we wanna check out, when we follow those desires, we are going in debt to the future. We're getting this quick fix, this honey glazed donut from Tim Hortons right now, and then we're gonna go, and so contentment, like if we just stop and try, and contentment is a healthy food. We're gonna reach for something that is, you deserve a break, so let's just take a hot bath and be quiet. So yeah, I'm gonna honor my feeling of I just need to decompress somehow. Whatever it is, you take your dog for a walk, or you listen to some very soothing music, something that's more wholesome than these just complete veg out. And bit by bit by bit, then more and more, our inclination will be toward the more nourishing, more wholesome. The wholesome is nourishing. The unwholesome is not nourishing. It's easy, it's habitual, it's gotta, it's like this, it's like the dollar store. It's all shiny and cheap, and it doesn't work. You get Lego at the dollar store, and you can't build them, and you can't put them with the real Lego. It's dollar store. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Wholesome,
I think this fellow is next.
Yeah. Great.
How do you cultivate a meditation practice that's not intermittent, like that? Intermittent at the end of the day, not have a fatigue. And how do you just go from day to day?
Yeah, so the question is, how do we cultivate a meditation practice that's not intermittent, more day-to-day?
Thank you so much for the most realistic, valuable question in the room. Sadhu. Yeah, you know what? You somehow set yourself up for success. Like you try and get really realistic about like, what can I do? So you try and have a time in the day that's quasi-realistic. If you are getting up at 5:30 to get to work, and get going with your day, probably, okay, I'm gonna get up at 4:30 and meditate. This will work one morning, maybe-ish, if. So, you try and just get really realistic. I've been talking about it, it's almost like, I think it's like the Buddha. It's not at all. But there is a wonderful book called Tiny Habits by B.J. Fogg. And he's all about how do we start to incorporate habits that are really good for us. And it's not about willpower. He's a behavior scientist. So I don't know what kind of time you have, but you could check it out. And you can actually just get some stuff from online. And they actually have free coaching, Monday to Friday, free coaching. So you could even problem solve. You don't need to read the book, nothing. You just sign up, and this person who's a behavioral scientist will help you problem solve your particular life. I'm not kidding.
What's it called?
Tiny Habits. Tiny Habits.
Check it out.
He really, the guy, I think, is very sincere, and he really wants people. Tiny habits, yeah. So yeah, you want to do it in tiny amount that you succeed at. And then he's all about mudita. He's all about, you do it and then you celebrate. He had one guy wanted to get a yoga practice going, and for I don't know how many days, and he's really big on the celebrate. It's as important as so this guy, and the celebrate also needs to be real. Like, it needs to be something that, like, that you can't go, yay, like, if that means nothing to you, you know? So anyway, this guy he was helping, the guy rolled out his yoga mat. And then he would stand on the yoga mat and do the theme from Rocky. That's how he got started, you know? Yeah, the guy's a behavioral scientist and he knows a lot about the mind. Yeah, so you want to start out tiny and have success. And then you want to be benefiting, you know, because then you'll have buy-in. It's like anything, like, you know, you think about it, like, you think of something that's like really, I don't know.
Bizarre.
No, something that, like, he makes the point, if we really are enjoying something, it's not hard to start that habit. You know? So yeah, like so he's got this model of behavior, and it's these three things, and motivation is the weakest link, and it's the one that we normally lean on. Don't. You do the other two. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Spoke about people that come to visit your monastery who have autonomy, have acquired all the things, and they are the loneliest souls. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, so the question is could you expand on your earlier comment about people visiting the monastery who have autonomy and acquired a whole bunch of things and they still feel
Yeah, it's the Buddhist teachings. You know?
You can't hear the question,
Yeah.
you can't hear the person repeating it.
Okay, let's try again. Yeah, so the question was to comment some more or expand on the earlier comment that Ayya Ahimsa made about people visiting the monastery who have autonomy and acquired a whole bunch of things but still feel lonely or disconnected.
I think that this honestly is just the Buddhist teachings, that the current, you know, our culture has told us that these things will make us happy, and they don't. What the human heart longs for is meaning and connection, and I think that the human heart longs, love. And this is what the Buddhist teachings are all about. And they, when our meditation practice begins to deepen and unfold, there's this, it's like something gets plugged in, you know, we get plugged into ourselves, and truly the inner critic, like we start to see that like none of this works, and we find a new way. Virginia and I were just at a 30-day retreat, mid-April to mid-May, with our meditation teacher, Beth Upton, and we had a closing circle, and there was a woman in the circle, and a young woman living in DC, Washington, DC, definitely, you know, doing all of the stuff with, and she was just crying. It's just like, and she said, I have some big decisions to make in my life, you know? I've just been doing what my culture said and what my parents said and what my peers are doing, and I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. And the Buddhist teaching and meditation and spiritual community and spiritual friendship it's not perfect, it's not easy, but it's meaningful and valuable. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Yes.
So how would you go about cultivating contentment when things really are going bad in your life? Say you've lost your job, you're about to lose your house, like if things really are going bad for you, how would you go about cultivating contentment in those situations?
Okay, so the question is how do we go about cultivating contentment in situations when things are going very badly? We lose a job, we lose our house, those sorts of things. So how do we do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And please, I don't mean to be, I've not lost my job, I've not lost my place to live. And these are things that are happening for people more now than the rest of my lifetime. And I do not want to be trite, and I don't want to be, laying a positive veneer over heartache and true loss. Yeah, and you're bringing up a great point. The Buddha's teachings are always, you can't just take one part. There's a whole, so you're talking about true suffering, and the Buddha talks about we need to care. We need to care for that fear and that loss. Yeah, I will share, and at the same time, you want to, if that is happening in your life, you want to do the best that you can, bringing in people that can support you through something like that. And I'll share one story quickly, and that is, and I think this is okay to share, my sister, single mom, 4 kids, 3 boys and a girl, and the third son, in high school, they're just very difficult. The child that's in the wrong place at the wrong time, over and over and over. Police, and my sister is so interesting. Lots of times wisdom, tremendous wisdom, a real crone, She shared with me, I used to want, I'm not gonna say his name, I'll call him Blair. I used to want Blair, to be popular. I used to want Blair to, be happy. I used to want Blair to graduate. I want Blair to stay alive. I want Blair to stay alive. So sometimes we need to change what will bring us contentment. And that really worked for my sister, got her through that time. And I'll just share, Blair graduated from university, top of his class. Yeah, and he's married and has a child, and yeah, and doing very, very well in his life, but had a very, 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 very rough patch. Yeah,
Well,
and he's not Blair.
That's a beautiful way to
Yeah,
end the Q&A here, I think, is just to respect everybody's time. So, Ayya, what are maybe kind of 3 things that we can take away tonight that we can put into practice to improve our levels of contentment in daily life?
lower our expectations, practice good enough in our own way, and feel how good it feels to just dial back the actually practice the fewness of wishes in whatever little way. Like if we have this little habit where, you know, we need that certain things, certain temperatures and certain things and certain dishes and certain things, certain ways, just maybe let go of some of that a little bit.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you everybody for all your questions and thank you, Ayya Ahimsa, for
Yeah.
such a wonderful and enlightening talk tonight. Really appreciate the care and the attention and your
Thanks, Alan.
generosity
Yeah,
in putting
for
it all
sure.
together.